It's still October the 22nd. It's about 10:55 tonight. This is part two of the uh, Yukon George Soros Cornelius tape. I first showed you in part one the gas chamber where George Soros murdered many of the 100,000 women who were exterminated for gold. Now I'm going to tell you how George Soros tried to murder me again today. I'm in front of the Kwanlun Cultural Center. This is where I sent the message to President Trump. Um, Today is Sunday. I tried to leave. I'm in Whitehorse, of course, in Yukon. I tried to leave yesterday. I walked on the east side of the river, and I left late, around 4 o'clock. Realized partway up the hill that I was making a mistake, so I came back. Today I walked on the west side of the river, heading south. And there's a Highway 1 here that would take me to a town called Watson Lake, or near there. That's where the death chamber was that was disguised as a restaurant. Remember the one with the emergency stop button just on the wall out on the outside, where they have called forest, what do they call it? Name forest. That when I first looked at it, looked like the names of the 100,000 women who were murdered. But I was on my way there because I would need to get there because of the mountains around here. I need to get there to get down to Vancouver, which is where I decided to go. The whole day was planned, of course. There were 4 incidents with the Illuminati, and it peaked with an attempt on my life. The first car that came by, I walked to the south end of the city, and that's where the on-ramp would be to the highway. I walked to the south side, and each of these 4 cars were available to me within 10 minutes of each, which was the most rapid succession of offers of a drive ever in this whole journey. The first car stopped. The guy, I just automatically got a very bad feel of evil and darkness. He just had long black hair. He just looked really he had been through the mill, and he looked rough. And so I asked him where he was going, because I had been warned about this, that when I go for a ride, be careful about where you get dropped off. It might be worth waiting for a longer ride or into a bigger city. So I was aware of this, which is good, because I asked the guy where he was going. Now, where I am in the Yukon, I'm in Whitehorse, which is basically near the BC border, and it's toward the west side of the territory. So to get to Watson Lake, I would need to go down Highway 1. The closest town is called Jake's Corner, and the next one is Johnson's Crossing, and then Teslin. So I asked this man, where were you going? It's about a 3.5-hour drive from Whitehorse to Watson Lake. And he said he was going to be around Marsh Lake. So I looked at the map, and I couldn't see Marsh Lake on it. I couldn't see a dot. And I said, well, what is there? Is there at least a gas station? Because it's cold here. And if I get a rail lift for half an hour or 45 minutes, I want to make sure there's a gas station or a coffee shop around that I can go inside and get warm and not be outside, because, there's wildlife here. I'm in the mountains. There are bears. There's all kinds of wildlife here. I have to be careful. So he said, well, it's at Marsh Lake. There's houses there. And I instantly knew this guy was not legitimate. I looked on the map again. Marsh Lake is there. It's in green. It's basically a park or a big, as you can see, or guess, a marsh. So there's a few houses around, but basically this dude was going to leave me out in the middle of nowhere. The next one was a car. A woman was going to drive me to the top of the hill and the entrance to the specific Alaska Highway part that I would be driving on going south. I took her up on the offer. Instantly I got in the car. I knew that something was up. Her son was with her. His name was Columbus. And she offered me a butter tart, and then proceeded to tell me about Jesus and the end of the world, and that God has a dome over us, and as long as we stay under this dome and don't let evil come near us, we're okay. I don't know what this dome is, because God's never told me about any dome, and all I could imagine was Get Smart, Maxwell Smart, where they went into a dome, and it was a silence dome. I'm kidding, of course, but I don't know what the shit this woman was spewing my way. I got out of the car, and I was on the entrance to the Alaska Highway. Car number 3 was just some guy that was creepy from the very beginning. I'm being stalked by 2 specific men here. One is white, one is of Aboriginal origin. This guy is really, both of them are creepy in their own way, but this guy driving the car reminded me of the creepy Aboriginal guy. I asked him where he was going. He said, "Oh, I'm just out for a drive." And this was 4:30 in the afternoon. There's no way you're just driving down the Alaska Highway willy-nilly with no planned direction. So I said, "How far along are you going?" And I pulled out my map, and I couldn't get an answer from him. He said, "I'll just drive you a little bit down here." I said, "No." Fourth one was a woman. She was German. She had a German accent. The license plate, I want everyone to know, was H for Harry, T for Tom, D for David, number 94. There's short license plates here in the Yukon. So I got into the car, and instantly I felt like pepper spray had gone off. My eyes burnt, but the worst part